the doctor had prescribed wrapping her ulcers with oatmeal, and it would alleviate the problem dramatically. In fact, they completely healed up after she had suffered with them for years.
Brews and potions on Beyond.
One of the gray areas where science and the supernatural world overlaps is in the territory of brews and potions. Often the making or administering of these brews may involve some kind of spiritual formula, a practice as old as medicine itself, which from the beginning acknowledged the need to treat the body, the mind, and the spirit. A belief that evolved in the dawn of humanity with the innate understanding that all problems can be fixed with a knowledge of the right dance, prayer, or song combined with the wisdom of herbs and their effect on the human body. This knowledge of dances, songs, words, touch, plants, and biology was not born with us. It developed only with long centuries of trial and error, and most certainly with the sparks of genius akin to the likes of Einstein, Newton, and Da Vinci. It served to assist our survival for thousands of years, and comparatively in recent times, a small, seemingly sophisticated part of humanity has moved away from this and rejected the spiritual and less sensible aspects of this ancient knowledge. So this episode is tentatively wondering why, and if this is due to arrogance or natural development. It is with this perspective in mind that we take this small step beyond.
My mother used to gather stinging nettles and wrap them next to her joints. The nettles brought back her mobility.
Midwives would tell younger women that were having trouble getting pregnant to take raspberry leaves and crush them up under the full moon and drink them with tea, and it would help them to get pregnant.
It was about 6 years ago we went to visit my grandmother, and the doctor had prescribed wrapping her ulcers with on her legs with oatmeal, and it would alleviate the problem dramatically. In fact, they completely healed up after she had suffered with them for years.
I had warts that wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
And my grandma told me to put bacon on them and then bury it in the garden, and then they went away.
How long after you buried them in the garden?
2 weeks.
And where were the warts?
On my thumb.
My mother likes to prescribe to people to eat cherries when they have gout, because whatever is in cherries neutralizes the gout in your system.
This practice of administering herbs, prayers, and physical actions in order to heal evolved with the development of the shaman in earliest human culture. The practice of shamanism existed before differences created in society by economy, religion, and politics. Shamans were the first doctors, the first psychics, the first gurus, the first social workers, the first performers, the first political advisors, and the first judges. These shamans were exceptional people who achieved deservedly high status within their community by extraordinary abilities of combining many different knowledge bases from herbs to dance to psychology. The super shamans enjoyed a well-deserved status which by today's standards would seem strange. The notion of being healed of some fatal disease by a tranced-out rock star may seem to some to be very unlikely, yet the strange energy and raw power evoked by a live event like a concert is unmistakable. It is really not so different from the energy felt by being present in a church at a rattlesnake ceremony or talking in tongues. As some tribal societies developed, the various roles of the shaman were segmented and taken over by actors, dancers, singers, psychics, psychologists, doctors, and priests. As many religions formed, they were not tolerant of competition or of people that professed an ability to communicate with God who were not members of their religion. Shamans were too impartial. Therefore, shamans became targets of power-hungry religionists of early developing societies. In those societies, roles were demarcated, and as a result, the connection between spirituality and medicine was broken. Science and the paranormal developed along separate paths. Some of these shamanic practices, however, were kept by both camps. Brews and potions were one of these practices. Doctors, herbalists, witches, shamans, voodoo priests, and alternative medicine practitioners all developed their own uses for brews and potions. Some had to do with gaining power or influence over others. Some were harmless, such as love potions. And then there were those that were fatally dangerous, such as poisons, or predatory, such as quack cures. Many of these negative traditions have carried on into modern society, such as snake oil cures for aging or obesity. But shamans have survived in certain societies in North America and are widespread or more mainstream in South America, Africa, and Asia. Their traditions continue to be needed even within Europe and North American society despite the organized religions, scientific dogma, and socialized medicine. For example, many alternative medical systems have proved so effective that in the United Kingdom, state-approved alternative medical clinics have been adopted into the national health system so that patients can get the benefits of both disciplines. The reason for this being that the National Health discovered that it saved money because alternative medicine is effective and the cures and treatments don't involve costly pharmaceutical products. Americans spend about $150 billion a year on pharmaceutical medicine, which is no big surprise. But the big news is that over the last 10 years, American expenditure on alternative medicine has risen to about $50 billion. Such an increase in personal expenditure would seem to be a silent endorsement for the effectiveness of alternative medicine.
Significantly different in the last 13. Anyways, it's like everything's done. Okay, a whole bunch of new stuff starting up.
Yeah, Jen and I felt like we kind of went through a big loop, like really big and beautiful, and then all of a sudden today it's like you're just on the other side of a great big event. So maybe this is all just what's the word, self-fulfilling prophecy. If you think it's going to be great, then maybe it is. Or if you think it's going to be challenging, maybe it is.
There's a little current starts in my head, and I feel that I'm hooked on. And then all I do is I just put my hands wherever the body asks me.
Even 5,000 years, like Iceman's age, they use the pointed stone to stimulate the body. That's the origin of the acupuncture. So they sharpen the stones and stimulate the skins. I think the Tibetan Buddhism gives more step for their practice.
We call it a healing table. And then above that are lights, different colors for the energy. And they represent the energy sources on your body, 7 of them. And in the healing table, we have 2 big speakers. And then where the person lies down, there are holes in there at every joint so that the music coming up will strike the joints and relax them. That's what the vibrations do. And one can have somebody helping with the healing of their healing, but on the other hand, sometimes they can just lie there and listen to the music for about an hour, and they'll feel much better. They'll feel very relaxed and ready to go again. We feel that the healing comes from the Creator, and we're just batteries, so we ask for guidance. And what happens to me is that there's a little current starts in my head, and I feel that I'm hooked on, and then all I do is I just put my hands wherever the body asks me to do it. And you can feel hot or cold, it just depends. Sometimes if there's heat, there may be an infection. And if it's cold, well, they're losing energy somewhere. But this kind of healing, I feel it balances your energy. That's what it does. And then you have to heal yourself. If you're not feeling well, what is happening is that your energy is imbalanced. And what you need is to have your energy balanced. And that's all it is. That's the way I look at it. And the person lying on the table may feel different things happening when the hands are being held above them. Heat, cold sometimes. Cold energy is just as good as hot energy. And there is a thing that happens. It's like your aura has been empty, and you fill this area with the energy. That's the only way I can describe it. But I've been one who has been interested in energy, human energy, for a long time. So energy follows thought, usually. You know, you think something and then the energy just flows there. And it depends, what do you want to manifest? I often tell people I've been the greatest manifester of being tired. And now I've got to work the other way. But, you know, everything you say is energy. And it depends on what you're saying, that you lose energy when you're criticizing, you're being selfish, or, you know, that type of thing. And when you're saying good things and you're thinking good things, that the energy comes to you a lot faster and it stays there. The other way, you're feeding that negative energy, and it's important that you don't do that. You know, the less you do of that, the better you feel.
So 1,000 years ago, lots of people did meditation more easier way. So I think even watching a tree or plant, just I talk to them, so it could be one of the meditation. I normally treat 5 patients is the maximum a day, even 5,000 years. Like Iceman's age, they use the pointed stone to stimulate the body. That's the origin of the acupuncture. So they sharpen the stones and stimulate the skins. I think the Tibetan Buddhism gives more step for their practice.
Taki Mansouri is a Buddhist healer from Japan. His discipline is that of Tibetan Buddhism. He's a Buddhist healer with qualifications which carry an equivalency to an MD in Canada. However, Buddhists do not use titles as they believe that pride can get in the way of healing. He has an impressive record of healing people with chronic disorders, and the Beyond team spoke to 4 such people who all profess to have been cured by Taki within 2 to 3 sessions. We asked Taki if he would work with one of the members of our team so that we could document a case from beginning to end.
I went to specialists. I had cortisone, I had massage, exercising, so I had to go for an MRI. Accommodated work. I was off work for a period of time, probably off and on 4 months, permanently off work, and then back slowly getting into it. But it never really went away. It would get better for a while, but it would always come back. And it was quite painful. I was on taking pain medication quite frequently, Advil and whatnot, and also prednisone.
My concerning the health is a kind of the balance of the body, which is very subtle. So keep the body in good health or good shape is sometimes it's very difficult for the people. The spine and the brain should be function properly. That's the main thing, so I focus on each session or treatment. Human body isn't like the machine, so spiritual or mental thing is very important. Machine works properly if we arrange the condition for the machine, but the human body doesn't work like that. So mental or spiritual thing is very important to let our body work properly.
It was incredible. I could have slept. It was wonderful. It wasn't painful whatsoever. I didn't want it to end.
I made the shoulder blade to move more fluently. That's the very important point for the treatment. Otherwise, this wrist problem won't be cured. Yes.
How many treatments normally would you expect to give a patient with that kind of problem?
Basically, the first session, I just focus about 60 or 50 or 60% cured.
I have so much mobility. I can lift things, turn, no trouble. It's great. I'm almost cured, I'm sure.
Yeah, so twice or 3 times is enough for the problem, yes.
Yes, I went back for full treatment, and I haven't been back now for a few months since my last treatment, and I'm still great. I mean, I can do so many things that I couldn't do before. I can keyboard like almost all day, sort of thing. And before that, I would tire out completely. One thing I noticed, like, the strength has returned to my hands. I can open like a jar of jam or pickles or something, right? That's usually I would have trouble and I couldn't open it. I'd have to get someone to come and open this jar for me. Or a bottle of pop, you know, how when they're first, you have to really loosen them. Nothing. It's just like a natural thing. And before Taki, I couldn't do that.
Helping the people, that's the main concerning spiritual or mental practice, rich or poor, doesn't matter. So just forget about so many attachment in their lifestyle. Wealthy or poor or doesn't matter.
Next time on Beyond Conclusions. In this third season of Beyond, we will examine some of the major mysteries of the paranormal, some of which have woven themselves into the fabric of our culture. Many are interconnected with other subjects in this and other seasons of Beyond. Sometimes research leads to answers. Sometimes answers from science, sometimes from spiritual realms, and sometimes from somewhere in between. Mysteries that inspire the imagination and compel us to seek an answer. Mysteries such as supernatural predators, super psychic children, body memories, sexual demons, pyramids, haunted objects, strange creatures, cattle mutilations, voices channeled from beyond, and even thought itself.
So it would seem that the reality of brews and potions is far from the joke we might normally associate with the subject. The quaint image of an old wart-covered witch boiling up a collection of reptilian creepy-crawlies in order to cast some hokey spell on a young princess is no joke. Over half of the world's population have been employing this practice for about 5,000 years. Modern science is finding it harder to dismiss, and instead of disproving these practices, they've begun to adopt some of them, especially in the pharmaceutical areas. Some have even gone with spiritual elements of ancient healing, such as qi, manipulation, and acupuncture. Yet this ancient process involves so much more and depends on the concept of manipulating the body, the psyche, and the spirit or soul. Without the spiritual element, it seems that healing cannot be fully effective. However, as always, Western science has such a phobia regarding the unseen world that for them to even investigate the spiritual elements of healing would be preposterous. It does encompass treatment of chemical imbalances that may lead to emotional disorders, but it treats psychology and non-chemical treatment of emotional problems like an untrustworthy cousin. Often dismissed as a natural science rather than a true science. So, for modern medicine to encompass Hippocrates' notion of holistic healing, which would include spiritual healing, will no doubt take modern medicine another 200 years to understand. Until then, the healing or manipulation of the spirit remains in the territory of the Eastern or Third World and shaman cultures, where healers are happy to step across the hidden border and travel beyond.